Okay, we are live. Hi, everybody. I'm really sorry for coming in late. I'm going to hope that we're not too late and that we haven't missed you. I'm starting to see the numbers coming up. Jessica and I were busy having a conversation that went on for about 5 minutes before. And then I realized that we weren't actually streaming into the Facebook group. So I hope that you are still all around. And as I'm talking, you're starting to join. So I'm really excited. I was much more excited the first time round. Yeah, the numbers are starting. We've got one in now. So I was much more excited the first time round, but I'm going to get my enthusiasm back. So the magic. So look, there we go. People are joining. So for those of you who are joining, I'm really sorry. We're a few minutes late. We were having some tech issues in that we were only streaming to LinkedIn and not to Facebook. So I am thrilled once again to be joined by Jessica Chivers, who is a very good friend and partner of Flexible Working People. I've known Jessica. How long have we known each other? For the past couple of years now. We've been chatting.
I've been admiring you and your work.
Well, we've been admiring each other because Jessica's really brilliant. And not only is she brilliant at what she does, but she's also absolutely hilarious. And I love hanging out with her. And we've even been for walks together with her dog. So Jessica is one of our Flexible Working People expert partners, and she specializes in return to work, which is why probably many of you are joining today, because you've taken a career break, whether that is an extended career break or whether that is a maternity leave and you're coming back in after having a child. And the brilliant thing about Jessica is that she works with both employers and with individuals. So she's got the Comeback Coach podcast, which you should listen to because lots of great content there. But also if you're an employer and you want to help your employees to get back to work in a safe and supported way, then the Talent Keeper Specialist, which is kind of the business side of Jessica's business, would love to talk to you and help you to support your employees better in coming back into the workplace. So Jessica, I can see the numbers going up, so that's good. We're definitely in the right place.
That's good.
Yeah, very good. So apart from that, you've written a great book, haven't you? Which is Mother's Work. There you go. Mother's Work. Get a grip on guilt and make a smooth return to the workplace. But Jessica's a bit of a powerhouse in this area, and I'm really thrilled to have her on this journey with us because we've got thousands of people in our community. In fact, I don't know if you know this, Jessica, but we hit 50,000 people.
I've seen. Week. Amazing.
And thousands of those are people who have taken career breaks or don't know how to get back into the workplace. And I know that because I see the posts every day coming in. So people who have lost their confidence possibly, or, you know, I know that you help people plan your exit as well as your return, and you're going to cover all of that today, which is going to be brilliant. So I know that there'll be a few people. Can you just say hello and just let us know in the comments that you are here? I can see there's 9 of you at the minute. But just say hello, 11. Say hello in the comments.
Because I can't see the comments at the moment.
Anything, and it's making us feel a bit lonely. And also, there's nothing Jessica likes more than questions that she can answer. So pop your questions in the chat box, please. Any questions about your return to work? Hello, everyone. That's lovely. Okay, so there are some real live people watching, which is brilliant. And I know that there are going to be people watching on replay because it's hot and sunny outside. So I'm not sure how many people will be sitting inside today, but that's fine because we're going to pin this to the top of featured and it's going to go out in our newsletter later. So if you're watching this on replay, also type in and just say replay. And if you've got any questions, if you're watching on replay, then also pop them in the chat box or on the Facebook thread because Jessica's very much a part of the community and is here to help and support and can absolutely come and answer your questions. So I'm going to stop chatting and I'm going to hand you over to Jessica, who is going to talk about all things return to work. I know that she wants your questions, so you can pop them in as she's talking. And don't be shy. And I'm going to disappear and then I'll come back at the end and catch up with you again. All right. So I'm going to disappear from the stream and I'm going to hand you over.
Now, who knows whether Katie's going to come back at 12:30 or whether she's going to come back at 12:45, which would be 30 minutes from we actually got started. But listen, your questions are so important to me because it means that I can talk to the specific things that are on your mind rather than me talk to you about the generic things that we advise the people we're working with, because you might have some very complex or non-straightforward or just specific questions, and there's no such thing as a silly question. If there is something that is sitting in your mind about preparing for leave or coming back from leave, I want to know, because then I can help you. And if you're being really shy and don't want to do that, you can always pop a note in the group. Or if you fancy, we've got an Instagram community as well at comebackcom UK, where you can come over, and I'm really happy to receive direct messages and send you some advice back. Anyway, whilst I wait for you to put your specific questions in there, I'm going to start to talk about things that you can do before you even go on leave. And hey, I don't know if that's relevant to you, because most of you here might be already on leave or been away for a significant amount of time and just looking to get back. But if there is anyone here who is about to go on leave, then this is for you. So one of the things, Sanam has written something which is great. I'm going to come back to this in just a second, Sanam, and I'm just going to start talking about something you can do before you go on leave. So what we want to do is produce either a short note, a short letter, or a bit of video footage for you that you can either reread or replay to yourself as you prepare to return to work. So 4 questions that I encourage people to think about and then answer before they even leave the workplace are: what have I been working on? What are people saying about me? So that's any feedback that you've been getting from clients, internal stakeholders, customers, peers, colleagues. The third question is, what have been some of my best my best work experiences over the last 12 months? And the last question is, what am I looking forward to about coming back to work? And it means if you write your answers to those 4 questions or record them, just get your phone and just speak to it, record a little note for yourself, then you can reread that, rewatch that, and it gives you a really visceral sense, especially if you've done it on video, just what you looked like, how you sounded before you went on leave, and you've got a really good sense of what you were working on, kind of the level of things that you were working on, the type of things that you're working on. So when that little bit of self-doubt creeps in, you know, because you've got the evidence on the written note or on the video, you're going, yeah, that is the kind of thing that I was working on, and this is the kind of thing that people were saying to me. So that's a really, really great thing for you to do. Right, I'm going to have a look at the chat here. So Sanam says, I went straight in from maternity leave to becoming an entrepreneur. Well, I'm curious to know what your business is. Oh, I'm a coach too, and would love to hear more about the transition from maternity to entrepreneurship, especially since I've had a corporate career all along. Right, so I started in the city, Sanam, so I get that, although I'd left before I had my 2 children who are now 16 and 14. So my best bit of advice for you as an entrepreneur is think that you are running a marathon, you're not running a sprint. So when you start a business, there is so much groundwork that needs to be done, building connections, understanding your marketplace, understanding your target clients. You cannot do everything. My business, the Talent Keeper Specialists, what you see behind you is our signature solution, the Comeback Community Employee Experience. That's not the name of the business. That's one of our solutions. But the Talent Keeper Specialists has been going 10 years. And I'm going to be honest and say, and I've worked for myself for 18 years, that there were so many times where I thought, shall I just go and get a job? And I think it probably took about 10 years, so 2 years into this business, for me to start thinking, do you know what? I know that things happen in cycles. I know how long things take. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. And just keep uber clear on what you are aiming for. Who are your target clients, your target customers, and be confident to niche. Okay, someone else says, I returned soon from maternity leave and my role has changed significantly, but my employer hasn't defined what it'll look like moving forwards. Okay, so I'm curious to know, have you been using kit days? Because kit days, keeping in touch days, you can have 10 of those without bringing maternity leave to an end. I would be encouraging you to go and spend some time in your organization just to start to understand what has changed in the team. Have some time with your line manager and say, can you just tell me what you do know? What are the certainties? What are the sorts of things you're going to be wanting me to work on? It's okay. I know it can feel horrible when you've been away and you don't have certainty about what you're doing. But honestly, you will find your way through this. I need you to adopt a mindset of what I call confident uncertainty. So although you don't know quite what the job is going to involve, know that you have the skills and ability to manage your way through this. It's a bit like when you do a driving test. You've got to go into that driving test with confident uncertainty. You don't know where the examiner is going to take you, but you know that you have got the skills to navigate that car wherever it goes. If you want to come back on me at any of this, I can't see your names. I can just see it says Facebook user. Someone else says, I'm back from maternity leave very soon, and it seems my manager and team are so busy with the big project that there's no time to plan supporting my return. Any advice on how I deal with this without me doing all the planning? I have a few kit days left. I would say just get in and have the kit days. Just start to pick up the vibe of what is going on, and you'll be able to have some side conversations, maybe a lunch, a coffee, where you can start to talk about what your role is going to be. I know it shouldn't be like this, but when someone is out of sight, we are not as present in other people's minds. So if you can be in there, be in people's line of sight, you're more likely to get a conversation. Get a short call booked in with your line manager, perhaps not even part of a kit day. Just say, could we have a 15-minute catch-up call? Can we book one in for each week before I return to work? That way you can be starting to pick up information for your line manager, and it means that you're in your line manager's mind. You've got that 15 minutes and you can just start to hear what is happening, what the sorts of things you want me to be working on. And again, like the previous person's question, I said confident uncertainty, you will be okay. And I'd encourage you to find someone in your team or just someone else in the business who has been through what you have been through and say, I am feeling wobbly. I don't feel like I'm getting any support. Can I lean on you? Having just one person who you know you can confide in and ask questions is a massive tonic and will alleviate lots of those fears, just bring down that very understandable and natural stress response to feeling that people are not preparing for you to come back. Any more questions? Okay, so what courses do you recommend to improve my admin skills after a long career break? Well, it really depends what your role is. I can't give you an answer and say go and do this course because I don't know the kind of skills that you're after, but my best piece of advice would be to go and try and talk to somebody who is doing the role that you either hope to do if you haven't got a job that you're lined up to go and do, or go and talk to someone in the team that you are going to be joining and say, please, could we spend some time together? Can you show me how this works, how that works? Just be confident to go and say to someone, can you help me? Can you explain to me how things have changed over the last 5 years? Can I shadow you? So can you watch somebody in action? If you are not currently with an employer, so you don't have a job to go to, you are job seeking, and you are job seeking to get the same role that you were doing before you had your career break, go and get in touch with the people who you used to work with, who were doing the same role that you want to be doing, and say, just tell me what's changed. Just lay your cards on the table and say, I'm going back, but I know I'm rusty. I don't know what I don't know. Okay, and most people will say yes, of course, because most people do have at least an ounce of empathy and can think, God, if the boot was on the other foot, I know how I'd be feeling, and I would hope that someone would say yes to me. So I hope that helps with that one. Just talk to people. Most people will be kind. Come on, keep your questions coming in. It's far better if we can get all these questions, because there are going to be questions that you are sitting on that other people are maybe too afraid to ask, but are thinking it too. So go on, be a good egg and ask whatever is on your mind. And until you do, I am going to start talking about some other things that we regularly recommend to people who are coming back to work after a break. So I'm going to pick up on that relationship thing, and that is whether you are returning to the same organization or whether you're coming into a new organization, whether you're job seeking. I think a really good thing to do to boost your confidence is to be back in touch with people who you used to work with and say, remind me, what was the work we did together? Tell me about what you saw as my strengths. You know, going to people who you liked and you felt good around and asking them to remind you of what you were like to work with. what were some of your standout qualities, your strengths, using them as an external memory to remind you about everything that you brought to your role and everything that you have to offer again as you return to work. Right, another question's come in from Zara. Great name. That was on my long list of names to call my daughter. I ended up on Artemis instead, but that's a by the by. Right, I'm coming to the end of my mat leave, but my baby doesn't sleep well, and most days my brain feels like mush. How does one cope with returning and expectations to perform but not feeling as bright as I used to? That is such a blooming great question, Zara. Thank you for answering it. Right, I'm going to say a couple of things about this. We did a session a couple of years ago with Rosie Whitwell, who is a sleep consultant. She's also, I can't remember if she's a nurse or was a midwife or a health visitor. Forgive me, Rosie. But Rosie is on Instagram. I'll have to dig out her handle. And I know that Rosie is really, really happy to do free 15 minutes with anybody on sleep techniques. We also have an episode of our podcast. The podcast is called Comeback Coach. I'll give you flashing up there the logo of the podcast that you're looking for on Spotify or wherever Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your stuff from. We've got an episode coming up with Chantel Angel. What a great name. She's also a sleep consultant. I'm just looking to my podcast schedule. That episode is going to be going out on the 2nd of August. And in that episode, we've just recorded it, Chantel talks about some key sleep tips. So have a look at Chantel Angel, search for her on Instagram. I think she's sleeping_angel, something like that. And also look up Rosie Whitwell. I think she's baby sleep expert, and there's a ton of stuff there. Now, one of the things that we do when we're working with line managers, because our program, not only do we offer coaching to the person who's returning to work, but we also work with their line manager. And we always flag to the line manager that a team member is highly unlikely to say that she or he, if it's a man returning from shared parental leave that we're coaching, is feeling sleep deprived. We will always say they are really, really keen to create a good impression, and they won't tell you that they're struggling. So at least the people we're working with, we do tell line managers to be cognizant of that. I think you have to, Zara, say to your line manager that you are operating on broken sleep. If your line manager has experience of having children herself or himself, you don't know whether it's a male or a female line manager, but perhaps if you know that your line manager has children, perhaps get them to think about, remember when you had your children, what it was like. Try and get your line manager to go to a place of remembering what it was like for her or him. If they don't have children, but you know that they have nieces and nephews, again, what you're trying to do is drum up in your line manager's mind a sense of what it is like, drawing on their own personal experience. Be comfortable, be confident to say, look, I know that I'm not operating on enough sleep, and therefore the way that I want to work is I'd like to work a little bit more from home initially, because what I intend to do during the day is take a power nap so that I can refresh myself, and obviously that's not possible in the office. If you can show your line manager that you are doing your very best to come to work rested and to refresh yourself during the day, that speaks volumes about you as a professional who wants to do her best. But I need you to go easy on yourself, because this is just something that happens to all parents, and we cannot expect you to be delivering the way that you were before you went on maternity leave in that first 6 months. It's just not going to happen. Right, I hope that's okay. Zara, feel free to come back to me on any of this. And as I say, we've got our Instagram channel at Comeback.com UK. You can always DM me. I'm on Instagram more than I am Facebook, but you can always put this stuff in the Flexible Working People Facebook group, and I'll do my very best to come back to you. The joy of Instagram is I can send voice memos when I'm on the hoof. Right, Grania, what a cool name, says, I've been a stay-at-home mum for 10 years. Previously, I was in a massive international sales corporate job. This job is not compatible with family life / school hours at all. How can I find my new focus and let go of my previous world? Am I now destined to school admin roles only? Granny, no, you're not destined to just that. And I would say, again, go back and have a chat with people who you were working with. If you liked the organisation that you were working with, if I could offer you the hours and the way of working that you would want, would you want to go back into that business? If you go, oh my goodness, yes, because I really enjoyed that culture, I like the nature of what we were doing, then I would say go back, have a chat. You never know. Okay, there's a war for talent going on out there. It is still an employees marketplace. So if you are someone who has 10 years out, if you are someone who is performing really well, Katie, I think that's your mic maybe on. I can hear you in the background. If you are performing really well and you come back into that business, they are going to be really, really keen to hear from you. And even if they don't have a role opening at the moment, the very fact that you are pitching up saying, I would love to come back, this is what I can do. A lot of people, and I'm speaking as someone who employs myself, if I've got someone who is really good and someone in the team who said, I can't work this way anymore, but what I can do is, I'm likely to think, God, they're really good. I want to hang on to them. I want to find a way to keep them. So go and have a conversation. You never know where things will lead. If you don't want to go back to that business or that it's not possible, again, follow where people went from that business. So people who you used to work with, perhaps your old boss, go and have a look on LinkedIn, find out where they are now, and just go and have a chat. Because again, you never know where that might lead. But don't write yourself off because you think that you know that you can't work or don't want to work in the same way that you were working before. Go and have the conversations. Employers want great people, even if you can't quite work the same way that you worked before. Okay, someone else says how to get clarity about the next career steps / what roles to go for. It's sometimes overwhelming not knowing where to start. I think this is where coaching really comes into its own, because I certainly know the coaches in my team who do some private work. I don't do any work at the moment with private coachees. So if you wanted to come to us, be really happy to introduce you to a couple of members of my team, and they're all fantastic. That's where we would do some really simple sort of career psychometrics to try and get an understanding and help illuminate the aspects of your role that you were doing before you really enjoyed, and get you thinking about where could those skills be deployed again. Also thinking about when you talk to your friends, when you talk to family and they're talking about their work, when do you find yourself getting a little bit jealous? I know it might sound like a strange thing, but understanding what makes you feel a little bit jealous is an indication that that's something that you might want for yourself, that might be something that you are interested in. If you dial back to before you had children, what kind of things interested you? What did you think to yourself? Well, if I won the lottery, and once the immediate joy of winning the lottery had worn off and you decide you need to work again, what were those things that you thought, that's what I would do instead? That those conversations that you have with people where you say, well, if I didn't have to work for the money, this is what I would do. All of those things give you a clue as to what you might want to do next. I'm also going to make a recommendation to go and have a look at a website called careershifters.org. That is a business, a set of resources that is all about helping people move from one career to another, especially when they don't necessarily know what they want. One thing I'm going to tell you from the research I've read about career change is it typically takes, if you're in one job and want to move to a completely different career, it takes somewhere between about 2 and 3 years to make that shift. You think about, it's about doing research, it might be getting training, it might be getting your credibility up in that area. Obviously, it doesn't have to take that long, but that's on average, that's a professional moving careers. Again, if any of the people that have posted things here want to come back, please come back to me. Say, Jessica, you haven't given me enough. Can you tell me a bit more about that? I am absolutely here to help and want to do my very best for you. I know time is precious. While I wait for something else to come in, something else that we do all the time with coachees, we send a welcome back box out to coachees that lands on their desk when they first return to work. And one of the things that we include in it is what we call our What's Gone Well journal. And this is something for people to capture at the end of each day or at the end of each week, some things that have gone well that week. And there's a whole, load of psychology, as you'd expect. I'm a coaching psychologist, behind why we're asking people to do that. And in a nutshell, it's because when you return to work, it is very easy to bring a deficit mindset where you pay attention to all the things that you don't know, the things that you're rusty about, the things that you've got to do, and to get consumed by that. But when you take a couple of minutes each day or at the end of each week to write down what has gone well and why, the why is crucial, because that's about your skills, your habits, your attitude. Usually when you write what's gone well and then you write about why, you do see it's to do with your attitude, your skills, your experiences. It ties back to you. You've had agency. That thing has gone well, not just because it just did, but you've played a part in that. It's a really great technique for driving up that sense of credibility, confidence, and can-do. So I really encourage you, when you do go back in those first few weeks, focus on what has gone well and why. Okay, someone else has put something in the chat, say, how do you keep your confidence up if you're not getting what you expect? Say more about that. Your confidence, I'm not quite sure what you mean by if you're not getting what you expect. Just a general tip is to go and spend time with clients, customers, peers who have made you feel good, who you've had a good relationship with before you went on leave, because spending time with those people will help you to remember what you were doing, what you were good at. And that is a great way to drive up your confidence when you're hearing people tell you what you're good at and remind you the sort of things that you're working on. Just while we wait for another comment, I want to share another tip, something else that I share time and again with people at all levels. And I'm talking all levels. This is really senior people through to more junior people. When you first go back to work and you're going into meetings, often people feel worried about being in meetings and not having anything to say, or people asking them questions and them not having a ready answer. You're not, you've been out of the business, even really senior people. So a really nice way to look like you've got it all together is at the start of the meeting is to say, I'm really delighted to be back. I've been away for X many months for whatever reasons. I've been away for 9 months on maternity leave. I'm really delighted to be back. This is one of my first meetings and I'm really keen to hear what everyone has got to say, but I'm deliberately going to take a back seat and stay quiet. I'm going to absorb what everyone has to say. How blooming confident does that look? You're setting your stall out at the very beginning, saying, I'm pleased to be here, looking forward to hearing what everyone's got to say, and I'm going to be deliberately quiet. That means people are not going to come to you and go, Hannah, what do you think? Sarah, what do you think? Pete, what do you think? Because you've just said, I'm going to sit here and be quiet. So that is a top tip when you go back into those first meetings. And I think that you can use that. You can use that for a good month, or at least for the first of that meeting type, even if that meeting type only comes around once a quarter. And so you've been back 11 weeks, you can still use that in that meeting to say, I'm just back. Okay, come on, folks, add something else in the chat for me to help you with. That would be really great. I haven't got anything new in, folks. And Katie, I don't know if you're in the background, but if there's anything that's come into the group that I've missed, you can throw that at me as well. Oh, Katie's coming back here now. Have you seen anything?
I just want to jump in. Because one of the questions that's come up, and I talk about a lot as well, is around how's flexibility when you come back. So often when people are coming back in, they don't necessarily want to come back in doing the hours that they were doing before. And I know that you've got lots of good advice around that. And so someone just asked that over on the chat. So I thought I'd just jump in and get you to cover that.
Yeah, okay. So with flexibility, first of all, if you can separate what you would ideally want from what you absolutely need. So when you go and have that conversation with your line manager, you can say, I've thought about what I'd ideally want, but I've thought about how that could play out in the business. And I've thought about what I really, really need and why I need it. So that immediately shows your line manager that you've given this some thought, that you're not just making unrealistic demands. The second thing that you say is, I thought about how this could work in practice. So again, you're showing you're thinking about the business. Say that. Also say, this is how I would like to work. Could we trial it for 12 weeks? It's a very, very unreasonable and or confident line manager who would say no, because it does look so unreasonable to say no to a trial, to a pilot. So that's the thing to say. Do not worry if there is no precedent in your team or your department for what you are asking for, but try and preempt any objections. If one of the objections is, I can't do that because it would set a precedent and I would have to say yes to everyone who asked for it, your response to that can simply be, well, can we just give it a go? Because it might be that this works really well and actually, other people don't come asking for this, or it would be possible to make it work for everyone. You may even want to quote the law, that flexible working cases have to be looked at on their own merits. So the whole it could set a precedent thing is not really a good enough argument. The other thing I'm going to say is the latest episode of our podcast, episode 62, is about how to make full-time work when you have a young family. And on that episode, we've got 6 different voices. And the thing that they all share, all 6 of those people, they all do compressed hours. So you might want to just put that under the nose of your line manager and say, I've listened to this, could you have a listen, or just share an extract from it. And over on our main website, talentkeepers.co.uk, in the insights section, we have written 2 pieces that are designed to be read by line managers about compressed hours and about working from home, and how those 2 things are absolutely compatible with delivering the objectives that you have as a business and how it will help you to retain talent. So go over and have a look at talentkeepers.co.uk in the insights section. It's the 2 newest articles.
And what about, another question has just come in, but before you move on, what about those who were working from home before they left, maybe due to COVID, whatever, now they're all back in the office?
Yeah. So again, what you might say is, as I referenced earlier about the sleep thing, you might say, realistically, what it's going to take for me to be able to do my very best work, to deliver my best work for the team, is I've got to be able to have a power nap during the day. And for that reason, I really do need to work from home 2 days a week, just so I can get some rest in, so that I can deliver my best throughout the day. Always, always, always try and tie what you are asking for back to how it is going to make your line manager look good and how it's going to help you to deliver at your very best. Try and preempt the issues that they're going to throw at you. Yes, there are many businesses who are calling everyone back to the office for at least 4 days a week. Some have gone 5 days a week. I think if you've been away on leave, you've got license to say, could we just trial me working from home, for 12 weeks and see how it goes. And you might find then that you just get to stick with it. Don't just automatically assume that you're going to have to do it. I speak to lots of HR people. I speak to lots of coaches in big organizations who are telling me that actually under the radar, although the diktat from on high is you will come back to the office 4 days a week, local arrangements are still in place. Local flex is still taking place. So it might look as though everyone is going back, but they are not, because the reality is...
Really good advice.
Yeah, so we've got a question here, Katie, which says, I'm thinking of working after a long gap after having my child who is 6 years old now. What reason should I put in my CV for having a long gap? I think you can, and Katie, I want to get your advice on this, because you must see lots of CVs. I think you can talk about it being a planned leave, so it looks very deliberate. So it can be planned family leave, and you in that talk about some of the ways that you have used your time. So have you done any volunteering? Have you done any training in that time? Is there any training that you think that you need to do to get yourself work ready again? Because ultimately a recruitment consultant needs to feel that you are work ready, that you are polished and ready to go, that you would be a good candidate. And in my experience, lots of people who are returning after a significant break end up getting work through past colleagues, or your past colleagues and friends network, because they can vouch for you. Ultimately, lots of recruitment consultants look at that big gap and they go, no, we've got other candidates. It's biased, but it's there, and I'm not going to pretend it's not there. So, Katie, what would you add?
So I would say, as a recruiter, as well as obviously managing this group, when I see career gaps, I want, there's just no issue at all with somebody being explicit about saying why you're on a career gap. We don't have to hide from it and pretend the dates didn't exist and what you were doing. Like, own it. We are in a world where we should very much be able to own that we brought up some kids and that we stayed at home. I think what Jessica's saying about upskilling is brilliant as well, because I know that, when you've been out of the workplace for a long time, if you've done any courses or done any training or any of that, that's going to set you in really, really good stead to come back in. So I've spoken to people who've done courses in social media or digital training, or just to get their skill sets up and refreshed. And that really helps if you're taking a big career break. And don't be ashamed of it, like, own it. It's fine. And work with flexible recruiters also, because they're not going to say, so when we talk to our clients, we say, yeah, they've taken a break, but they didn't have a lobotomy while they were out. And look at all this incredible experience that they had before. You need to see this candidate. So choose your recruiters wisely as well. There's lots of people now, not just us, who do flexible recruitment. It's not an unheard of thing anymore. The lid's off, the floodgates are open. Don't shy away from it. It is what it is.
There's nothing like personal recommendation though, and that's why you're likely to find your job through your network. And just going back to this idea of doing some training, if you go and do the training, it's almost less about what you're going to learn and more the people you're going to come into contact with. It's going to make you feel confident that you are getting your mind back into gear. It gives you something to talk about when you're having conversations. You never know where it will lead if you go to an industry conference, for example. So it doesn't have to be training as in doing an online course or an in-person course. It could be that you've read a new book in the area in which you work. It could be that you've read some journal articles which have sparked some ideas. It could be that you've been to a conference, doing any of this stuff that shows that you are current and you are interested. And it demonstrates that you're not just saying, oh, I'm ready for work, that you have gone and done something, that you are being proactive. And I cannot recommend Lisa Unwin and Deb Kahn's book enough. She's Back. This is a book, unlike my book, which is aimed at people that have taken a short break and are going back after, say, maternity leave. This is aimed at people who have taken a longer career break. So you've detached from your organisation. It's a brilliant book. Go and buy She's Back. Honestly, great book.
I agree. I fully endorse it. So I've got the same. I've got the book, but I've read it and it's incredible. And it will give you so many tips and strategies for how to come back after a career break.
Yeah, absolutely. And go and listen to some of our podcast episodes. We've got some episodes with people who are coming back after a long break. So the podcast is called Comeback Coach. And actually, I'll put this out there. We've just started to record season 5. The podcast is a tale of 2 episodes. So we've got comeback episodes and coach episodes. The coach episodes are where you, the listener, get to eavesdrop on a standalone coaching conversation between me and the coachee. The coaches do not pay for the session, so you're getting a free 45 minutes with me. We've got possibly 1 or possibly 2 slots left. So if you are preparing to return to work and you would like a coaching session with me, absolutely free, please get in touch and we'll see what we can do. That's
amazing. You've given so many good tips and strategies, but not just that. I think you've signposted elsewhere as well.
Good.
And there is so much help out there. There really is. Career shifters, I think you mentioned earlier. Yeah. Lisa's book, definitely. And and also I think when you're returning to work, I think there's a lot of anxiety around putting yourself out there. But actually start with your network, start with your old colleagues, start where you feel comfortable, go and have some coffees, start having some conversations. And suddenly it will all start coming back to you and you'll feel like you actually haven't forgotten it all.
And I think, Katie, I want to just dive in and make a final point, okay, and it's this. I've had the privilege of working with some extremely senior individuals, and you will have colleagues who you've worked with who you think look so put together, so confident, You would not believe the facade that can go on, but take anybody who has been away on sick leave, maternity leave, a career break, they are wobbling underneath. No matter how polished and slick and confident they look, how big their job title is,
100%.
Everybody has worries. We are all the same. It is a level playing field once you have taken time out of the workplace. You absolutely can get back. Be kind to yourself.
And be vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable too. People want to help. You don't have to be everything. Okay, on that note, thank you so much for all of your wisdom. I hope that you guys listening have found that useful. And if you're watching on replay, as I said earlier, please do drop any comments or thoughts on today's live in the comments. Jessica is in the group and very active and will absolutely come and answer any questions, and reach out to her through your Instagram, through your
thread, at Come Back Home UK, or post it in the group.
Some links into the thread. All right, Jessica, thank you so much. I hope you all found that useful, and we'll see you soon. Bye.